My name is Judge Jim Gray. I am a judge of the Superior Court in Orange County, and I've been a trial court judge here in California for more than 20 years. Before that, I was a federal prosecutor in the United States Attorney's Office, a Navy JAG attorney, both giving command legal advice at the Naval Air Station in Guam, as well as a criminal defense attorney in the Navy. And then I was also in private practice for about 5 years. I am a former drug warrior. I know we're going to be talking about the drug war and the drug laws and the drug programs. I believed in what I was doing. I felt, without giving it much thought, that drugs are evil. People that involve them are evil, and the jail is the right place for them. Since that time, I have learned differently. Not that I wouldn't put somebody that traffics in human misery in prison. I would, very, very well. The problem is, though, the money. So I have learned that what we have to do, must do, is set up a different system that does not so strongly encourage people to traffic in these things, because the drug money is much more dangerous than the drugs themselves. You can go back to Erich Honecker, who was the head of East Germany, or Fidel Castro, or Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, or all of these other thugs. They're all in the illegal drug business. They're all feathering their nest, making these monies because of the sale of illegal drugs. That's part of the equation too. This is the most lucrative thing going. It's probably the most critical issue facing our world today, because it has its tentacles in so many things that are wrong. It wouldn't make the slightest bit of difference to our drug problems here if you were to bulldoze the entire country of Colombia. In fact, take Ecuador and Peru with it if you want to. Why? Because if the demand is here, the demand will be met. And if it's not met by Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, it'll be met by Nigeria and Thailand, or Burma, or California. Are you aware that California's largest cash crop today is still marijuana, even though it is illegal? Number 2 is grapes, if you care. So, as long as the demand is here, the demand will be met. So let's focus on that. Let's regulate, let's control these substances.
My name's Tony CRAVER. I'm the sheriff of Mendocino County. I'm in my 6th year as sheriff of Mendocino County, my 2nd term, and I'm in my 34th year in law enforcement in Mendocino County. Marijuana in various parts of the state of California will bring anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a pound, and when you have that kind of a value placed on something, whether it's marijuana, whether it's tomatoes, or old newspapers, there's always going to be somebody out there that wants to get rich quick and not work for it and steal it from you. I spend a considerable amount of my time talking to people about the legalities of becoming primary caregivers, producing and distributing marijuana to people. Most of it is purely profit-driven. In the illegal marijuana cultivation, we have people that, deer hunters, for example, in the hills that get fired upon, people that go hiking in the woods that are confronted by armed folks that don't want them out there.
I'm Norm VROMAN, currently the district attorney for Mendocino County. I've been practicing law for 40 plus years. I've been a prosecutor, a defense lawyer, a judge, and I'm currently, as I said, the DA of Mendocino County. I was opposed to the medical marijuana initiative because it created a morphodite. You've got marijuana that's legal and you've got marijuana that's illegal. And therefore you've got a built-in problem is how do you determine who's legal and who isn't? And of course, with it being illegal, it's a built-in government price support. So as long as it's illegal, there's going to be money in it. If it was decriminalized, everybody could grow it in their backyard. Nobody'd go by ripping them off at gunpoint or any other thing because it wouldn't be worth anything. You've got a great disparity throughout the state. Of course, you've got 58 counties and it's being done 58 different ways.
I'm Chris Conrad. I'm the author of Hemp Lifeline to the Future and Hemp for Health, as well as a couple of books about human rights and the drug war. And I'm the curator of the Hash Marijuana Hemp Museum in Amsterdam and a court-qualified cannabis expert. When the Single Convention Treaty on Narcotic Drugs was passed in 1961 and reaffirmed in 1968 with the United States as a signatory to it, it makes several points to the effect that at the beginning, the preamble states that it's necessary for people to have access to cannabis as a medicine. Article 28 says that there's a policy in effect as to how it should be regulated, where it's allowed for medical use. And Article 23 explains what that is, which is a government can allow a state agency to dispense medical marijuana. to people within the state. So the argument that some people make that federal law forbids us to allow it is just factually incorrect. The treaty, which is, according to the Constitution, is part of the Supreme Law of the land, does specifically allow for industrial hemp and medical marijuana both within a given country, as long as there's an agency that controls it. In the case of the voter initiative, 11362.5 in the Health and Safety Code, it calls for several specific things. It allows individuals to cultivate and possess marijuana for their own personal medical use or caregiver for a patient. And it also calls on the state to take steps to make sure that the supply is available for patients. And another thing is that it talks about consistency of availability. And so medical marijuana, we know that it has healthful benefits, but what about ways of making it safer for patients? That hasn't been really addressed on a statewide level.
I'm a member of the Board of Supervisors of Mendocino County. I represent the 2nd District, fulfilling my commitment to my sworn oath for the protection and the health and safety of the citizens of this county. And I believe the protection and the health and safety of our citizens is foremost in that effort. The non-fulfillment of Proposition 215 by not taking care of these health and safety items is providing for an absolute astronomical amount of black market situation going on in this county. There's literally millions of dollars being created in this county through the black market situation of medical marijuana.
Hi, my name is John Lehman, PhD. I'm a scientist. Studied pharmacology and have worked in the area of pharmacology for over 30 years. I went to undergraduate school at California Institute of Technology, Caltech in Pasadena. I got my PhD in neuropharmacology at University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Did one postdoctoral training in Paris at Saint-Labo, pharmaceutical company, and my second postdoctoral training was at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. It's quite a remarkable thing, actually, how avidly cannabis can accumulate heavy metals from the ground. In fact, it was used for that purpose to scavenge, to draw out of the ground the radioactive heavy metals following the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster. Among the heavy metals that are accumulated are toxic chemicals besides the radioactive ones. These are chromium, mercury, cadmium, lead, and polonium. Polonium can be radioactive. And another plant that does this is the tobacco plant. And in fact, it's thought that the mechanism by which tobacco causes lung cancer may indeed be that it accumulates radioactive heavy metals. This was an opinion that was expressed by C. Everett Koop, the famous Surgeon General during the Clinton administration. When a person smokes cannabis, the heavy metals will typically be volatilized, and they will be inhaled, and they will reside in the lungs, and from there they can pass on to other parts of the body. Now, will all cannabis be contaminated in this way? No. It depends particularly on where the cannabis was grown, whether there was a high level of heavy metal contamination in the ground, or in the fertilizer, or in the water that's used on these plants. The important thing is that the ground itself may not be toxic, the water's not toxic, but just through the accumulation, these metals can reach toxic levels.
In the 1980s, there was a case that came out of Hawaii in which I think there were 3 individuals in it who had grown cannabis in an area that had pumice. And so what happened, though, that unbeknownst to them, was that there was also mercury in that pumice. And so they ended up getting mercury poisoning. Certainly there are other cases where contaminants in the soil were then consumed by the cannabis consumer, who then ends up having physical adverse effects.